You're watching Teng Tools Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Muscle Garage is proudly brought to you by Teng Tools in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Niedercar. Coming up, Muscle merges with Imports at Downtime Entertainment's AutoFest 2018. And we shed raid bike builders and body shop Phoebe Co. First up though, anyone has heard of Whangamata's annual beach hop. And with 2018's festival just done and dusted, we thought it'd make a great time to get to know the main man behind what's become the biggest nostalgia festival in the Southern Hemisphere. So to do that, the team from Maguire's sent us to Hop HQ to track down one Mr. Noddy Watts.
I've had a few nicknames over the years, but I'm quite glad this one actually stuck with me. When I was young, I used to enjoy athletics and running and rugby and all that kind of stuff. But when I sprinted, my head used to get this habit of nodding, and the faster it nodded, the faster I ran. So I was about 10 years old and it got coined to me then, and it's kind of stuck. So yeah, I'm Noddy. You know, I was just like a regular kid. You know, for me, like one week I was going to be a racing car driver, the next week I was going to be an airline pilot, next week I was going to be a powerboat racer, and I used to draw pictures of all the things. But when I was about 10, I was taken to the drags with my older brother. Hated it. It was just so noisy and it was hot, and there was a couple of cars over from Australia, which, you know, pretty awesome. But that night when I got home, I got into bed and my ears were just ringing. And then I woke up the next morning and I thought, man, that was actually really cool.
While the seed may have been planted, it would take some watering. For 10-year-old Noddy, that would come in the form of a hot rod magazine discovered at the local store.
I picked it up and it had the drag meet that I went to. So I had my 50 cents in my pocket and I bought it and took it home and read it. And I got hooked on it right then, and from that moment I became a hot rodder.
Model cars would get things underway, followed by a hot rod redesign of his push bike. But really, it was just a matter of time.
I decided a T-bucket was the way to go, and I had an idea in my mind. I'd seen a couple of American ones. I didn't like the regular, I mean, I love T-buckets, but not my style where you sit on one. I wanted to sit inside it. So I drew pictures of it all over my school books. And one teacher actually said if Graham paid more attention to his study than what he does drawing cars, he'd be an A student. So yeah, but hey, look, I've done all right with that, so I'm quite happy with it. But got my first pay packet and started building my hot rod. It had to be wild and have a big engine, loud, big tyres on the back, skinny tyres on the front, really radical, that kind of cartoon hot rod. That's what really spun my crank. It came together over 7 years, saving and borrowing money off my dad, and I think I paid him back. Got better as I built it. There's different ways you can build a hot rod. You can build it and put it together, drive it, and then pull it apart to detail it. Or the way I went was I actually made it nice and pretty as I built it.
The car has become something of an urban legend since, retired from the street some 25 years ago, so time it would seem to finally lift the covers off and reveal that you'll have to wait a bit longer.
Yeah, there's a bit of a folklore about Noddy's T-bucket, and does it really exist, and is it just a figment of someone's imagination? But yeah, one day it'll come out. I did promise my girls that I'd take them to school in it one day, but I've missed that one, so maybe I'll take my grandkids to school in it.
While a show-winning cover car is nothing to scoff at, undoubtedly Noddy's biggest contribution to hot rodding in New Zealand is the truly world-famous beach hop.
The actually first one was called the Whangamata Rock and Roll Festival, and our local rock and roll club has its annual birthday dance at night time, where clubs from around the North Island, they come over and for the night and play and dance and sing and have a good night. But some business people noted that the people were coming to town during the day and there was nothing for them to do apart from going shopping. So they decided, well, let's just close a couple of blocks of the main street, we'll get some hot rods in and some bikes and put a couple of bands in and have a bit of a street festival. And because I'm a hot rodder, I was invited to come along, and I put the word out to, it was actually through the Matamata Hot Rod Club, who were actually having a run that weekend, and I said, hey, why don't you come over to Whangamata to this? And they did, and we had 100 cars turn up and 100 bikes. Next thing you know, It was a great event, a one-day event, and we had a debrief and we talked about it, and I said, this event could grow if we manage it and do it right, but the first thing we have to do is change the name, because the Whangamata Rock and Roll Festival is pretty boring. It's a hop at the beach. A hop is a dance, a rock and roll dance. We're at the beach, let's call it the Beach Hop. And I presented them with the logo, and we registered it as a trademark, and it's just taken off from there.
With no single point of entry or spectator gate fee, judging just how massive Beach Hop has got involves a bit of guesswork, but it's big. Nowadays limited to a little over 1,000 registered cars, that doesn't quite tell the whole story. The hop absolutely consumes whanga. In fact, it's had a pretty big effect on the seaside town the rest of the year too.
I moved to Whangamata 25 years ago, and there probably would have been half a dozen cars that I knew of in Whangamata. Today, I would estimate there'd be close to 400 classic cars, hot rods, specialty interest cars in this town that's owned by a resident or a ratepayer. You can go into town any day of the week, any time of the year, and you'll see a classic car or a hot rod. It'll always be a surfy town, it'll always be a beach town, but hot rods and surf music and everything, it all goes together. So it's the ideal place. This is a retirement place for hot rodders.
The hop clocked up 18 years this March, and between that and the USA tours Noddy leads, the calendar is pretty chock full of car stuff. He wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm a hot rodder. For me, hot rodding was a great thing that I really fell into and grew into, and just the fun with the cars. I love the style of them, the chrome, the engines, the V8s. You can't beat just driving on a trip with the windows down, roof off of you. You can take it off, music going, V8 sounds, beautiful New Zealand scenery, you just can't beat it. And then it's the people as well. I've met so many wonderful people through my involvement with hot rodding. But the cars are the key, that's what brings us together. And I'm really proud to be I'm a car guy, a hot rod guy, and hopefully that's filtering down onto my daughters as well. They love cars as well, so the next generation's looking good from the Watts family anyway.
Right, thanks to our mates at Nidaka, it's time to check out AutoFest 2018. AutoFest is a one-day show held at Waikato's Mystery Creek, the venue perhaps better known as the home of the Field Days. Run by local promoters Downtime Entertainment, and now in its third year, it'd be timely to point out that a big chunk of the show's success and turnout is more the stuff you'd find in NZ Performance Car magazine. However, there's certainly a growing V8 element too. The lowriders have been there in force since day one, while the burnout pad is always a big attraction. But this year, more than those previous, the show area is beginning to play catch-up too, with a number of high-end muscle cars rubbing shoulders with the import crowd. Much of that thanks to the big display of Matamata Panelworks.
It's a show that's been going for 3 years now, AutoFest, and thought you would give it a support, local, Waikato, always a Waikato boy at heart, so it was an opportunity to bring some of our cars here, and we always love to have our cars all in one spot. Obviously it's a way of promoting our business and going forward. You never know who's out there for that next big build. Yeah, a great way to showcase Matamata Panelworks.
If you're a regular viewer, you'll already be well familiar with their talents, and it's not exactly rocket science to see why they're show favourites. The Matamata Panelworks team consistently serving up some of this country's top builds. They're particularly known for their Mustangs, including their all-steel approach to the iconic Eleanor Fastback. But this workshop is far from a one-trick pony.
Yeah, we've got a great range of cars, and over the years we've tried to break away from just only Mustangs, and as you can see we've got a couple of Chevys here, 32 Roadster, an F100. We bring in cars from overseas as well, so we've got a dirty old Falcon over there, 64 Falcon Sprint that turned up 3 days ago, so it's exactly how we found it. Also the 2017 GT 350R Shelby, so we brought that one in as well. So it's a great range of cars and different states, like the one behind us here, bare metal there in the build. You can see the tub work going on, Art Morrison chassis underneath it, so public can actually see what it takes. And we've tried with the display putting photos around, they can see what's involved, that the people that put the money into building all of these cars that are here today, there's a lot of time and effort. And even us walking around and seeing what some of these young fellas are doing with their cars is absolutely fantastic. The car fraternity of New Zealand is thriving, so it's great.
Amazing results, even at full sight.
You're back with Teng Tools Muscle Garage, proudly brought to you by Teng Tools, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Nidaka. Right, thanks to Nidaka, we're back to AutoFest 2018. Location, Waikato's Mystery Creek. AutoFest caters for a large cross-section of New Zealand's car community. And of course, we're here because that includes V8s of US and Australian origin. Those were perhaps most concentrated in the dedicated lowrider show. These guys and girls have a strong Waikato presence and have turned out in support of AutoFest since day dot. So it seemed fitting that this year they were rewarded with a separate display area. Another V8 stronghold? The burnout pad. Although it'd be fair to say our boys flying the no replacement for displacement flag had some serious competition from the likes of Steve Ellicott and his angry rotary-powered Mazda wagon. A relatively new sight on New Zealand's pads, and today lining up in the Pro class was Joel Arcus in his late model Camaro, a burnout spec beast built around a stolen and recovered body.
I just sold another car and had a pocket full of money, and the car came up in the right place at the right time, and yeah, it's a cool car, so, you know, nice looking. Had no engine or running gear in it, and built it up from there. So it's a 2010 Chevy Camaro with an LS motor in it that I've set up with an 871 blower, converted it to EFI 2-speed power glide. Yeah, pretty basic, but goes good. It's a reasonably stock engine in it at the moment. I've got a big engine that I'm building up, but just using this one to get it all sorted out. Pumping about 14 pounds of boost into the stock bottom end, and it just loves it.
And the recipe of the day?
Lots of smoke, lots of noise, throw it around the whole pad, and pop the tyres. That's why I'm here, mate, to kill those tyres.
Battling it out in the V8 class, Ramo Simpson.
It's a 1980 HZ1 tonner. It's a 406 Chev, small block Chev. It is a little bit different, yeah, it's a fiberglass cab. The whole thing was fiberglass, but I replaced the front with a steel front, just because the fiberglass was coming to bits. It's always been built in line to smash tyres. It does them in about 40 seconds flat. That was when I was running 275s. I'm running a 3.0 diff gear today, which I swapped in yesterday. So we'll see how it goes today. The best adrenaline rush at the end of the day. Yep, that's basically all it is. I just love it. Just get out there, floor it, top gear, smash them, get off. Another set.
And continuing the Holden Ute theme,
It's a 1982 WB Holden Ute, running a 406 small block Chevy, taking out the 412 cubic inch. Got a few goodies in the engine, good rods and good crank, nice carby and all that stuff, and just running open headers. Apart from that, yeah, it's pretty much a Chevy all the way. It's just something where you can have a bit more fun. It's a bit more of a relaxed day. There's not so much rules and regulations. Like, we've come from Speedway, and it's just getting too expensive to do Speedway racing. And this year we got sponsors for the tyres and sponsors for this and that, and it's pretty cheap. Yeah, that's pretty much why we do it.
there's fewer stages in motorsport that provide more of a torture test than the burnout pad. But run after run, the WB keeps on ticking.
Well, if you start with something good, you really don't spend too much money on it unless you're silly and over rev it. And like, there's a lot of guys out there that'll just sit on rev limit just to hear the noise and burn the tyres off quick. But I prefer to have a burnout that lasts about anything from 3 to 6 minutes and just take your time with it. Lots of smoke and big bangs. I pump my tyres right up hard and high, and I like to hear them pop hard. I'm not really interested in winning, I just like putting on the show. I'm not afraid of touching the wall. It's hit the wall a few times, but yeah, just put on a good show and lots of smoke.
And Greg was in good company there. Ian Sambo Smith took out Pro Class and his blown LS-powered FD RX-7. Steve Ellicott thrashed his 13B turbo Mazda wagon into top spot for the rotaries. And Rob Two Cars Toherere backed up his second spot in the Pro Class by also taking out the V8 category. Okay, thanks to our mates at Mount Shop, we're in the Tron to drop by VBS Co. Starting life as a body shop, now it would seem the bikes are taking over.
We love doing what we do, so we just really wanted to, get out there and show what we could do. So it's one of those things that just sort of started. We had a few hot rods on the go and a few other projects, and it just sort of evolved.
The workshop now has two very different looking work bays. The one on the left, a full motorcycle customizing chop shop. And on the right, body and fabrication for four-wheeled creations. But there might just be a bit more in common between the two than you'd think.
A lot of guys, especially a lot of car guys, been into cars a long time, and you only know them as a car guy when you actually start talking to them. They first started as a bike guy, like I suppose back when they were going to school, man, and they were trying to pick up chicks. Bikes were pretty rad back then, I suppose, and it's really cool to see how many guys were into bikes and the stories. I really enjoy building the bikes because you meet the guys and the stories that come with it. That's why we do this. This is why this is cool, man. I think anybody's into cars, bikes, you either get it or you don't. It's cool building them, it's cool riding them, it's cool driving the car, but you meet the people, and there's always stories behind the people. They'll sort of decide, hey man, I had a cool bike back in the day, look, I wouldn't mind doing that again, and they're sort of getting back into it, and it's really cool, and sort of creating some new stories, I suppose, yeah.
Such is the case with this Honda CB750 Custom, being constructed for local hot rodder Noel Jessup. The Custom model, not an overly common platform for a cafe racer build, but there's obvious styling cues shared with a traditional hot rod here. However, having less to work with isn't always an advantage.
You can hide so much with a car, you can only see one side at a time. Where bikes, people think it's smaller, it's so much easier, it's just two wheels, but you look at a bike, and a good bike beat a bad bike is you can't see anything. I think a good bike you should look at it and it doesn't look like it goes because you can't see the wiring, you can't see a key, you can't see any, it's just a motor and some wheels, which is pretty rad. So it's less is more, I think. You have to try to really think about where things are going, make a real good plan, and it's all proportions. Proportions and lines is just crazy, is sort of, it either works or it doesn't. I think with a bike, you either look at a bike and you straight away know this is really good. And you can look over it 10 times and it just gets better. When you look at something, you look at 10 times and you find it's something sort of wrong each time. It's sort of like, well, this hasn't hit the mark. You can really test your skills and make something good out of it.
But when bolting together a true period-styled hot rod, for example, following the traditional cues of yesteryear, can make for a pretty restrictive process. It's here where a custom bike offers a bit more freedom.
There's rules and regulations. You can't put those wheels with that car, and it's got to be this colour. You got to run, you know, this motor, and there's sort of, and you can go different, but people sort of look at you, you know, like you're not sticking to the mould. That's why bikes are so cool. I think that's why bikes are so popular at the moment. It's your own identity, and you can make a bike your own identity. So I think definitely it's a license to make it your own and be really proud of it.
On the body side, the boys have something a bit different on the go currently. It's certainly the first, and probably the last for this TV show anyway, a vintage ice cream truck built around a 64 Austin FGK30. The decommissioned Mr. Whippy truck is powered by a 202 Holden 6, but we're not shooting for blistering quarter miles here. Its performance will be measured in ice cream sales. Different, yes, but it certainly fits VBS's MO.
We don't want to just bolt parts on, that's not our deal, is we want to make stuff and build stuff. And I think the biggest thing, if you can think it, you dream it, build it. There's no reason, man, I had this crazy job, I've always wanted this car, I've always wanted this bike. Do it. Don't do what someone says in a book. Don't copy what Barry down the road did, man. Like, I think that's the cool thing, make it your own and love it. My problem is guys come to me with an idea, and they have a bit of an idea and they talk it. I just love this stuff so much that I get into it, and I actually get more excited about their project than they do half the time, you know, and I come up with all these different ideas, and I'll be ringing them going, hey, wait, what about this? Let's try something else. So I absolutely love it, you know, so I'm pretty lucky to do what we do, man. I get to build other people's dream cars and dream bikes and not having to pay for it, which is great, you know, but there's nothing better than at the end when the owner comes and picks that car up and drives it off for the first time, or picks that bike up and rides off this. It's pretty rad. Like it's definitely a cool feeling that you've been a part of, you know. Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
Every week, we're giving our viewers the chance to win a Teng Tools and Maguire's gift pack worth $250. Simply go to themotorhood.com and follow the Teng Tools Muscle Garage link. Plus, by entering our weekly draws, at the end of the series, one lucky viewer will win a Teng Tools 460-piece automotive toolkit, a complete Maguire's car care pack, and a $500 Mount Shop voucher. The total value of this grand prize is almost $5,000. Good luck, everyone. Teng Tools Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Teng Tools. Get organised. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Need a Car, the easy way to research and buy cars online.